a controversy over contracting services for city government. Now, I'm not sure exactly what contracting services the city government needs, but there is a contract standing between the city government and Rusty Hall, who runs outsourced staffing. The issue that has come into view is a seeming effort by parties in the mayor's office to get another business run by Donna and Marty Lowe to have a part in this agreement, which is past $1 million. We have on the phone here on the David Tulis Show, Rusty Hall. Rusty, tell us a little bit about outsourced staffing, first of all, and what you and your business do for city government.
So Outsource is a temporary staffing and direct hire staffing company who, for the city, we provide them with temporary workers. Sometimes they're able to go permanent with the city after they've worked there for a certain length of time. We've been working with the city for the past 11 years with no complaints that I have heard of, and we just look to continue providing a good service to the city.
Well, right now, how many workers do you have that are paid through your company, Outsource Staffing? How many right now are on your payroll?
Currently on my payroll, around 200 workers, not all with the city, but with various organizations throughout Chattanooga.
Okay, so I would say you're a small staffing business, right, compared to others among your competitors.
Yes, we're a small, locally owned staffing company. We're not a major regional staffing company or anything like that. We are locally owned and have been for about 25 years now.
Now, how many of these 200 would you say, by your records, are in serving city government, Rusty?
It ranges anywhere from 75 to 100 on a weekly basis.
Well, how does that work? Do people work for the city for just a week or two, or a month or two, or is there how long a stay does an outsourced staffing employee work for the city?
It's typically short-term assignments, just to fill gaps that are needed while they're either looking to hire other permanent employees, or sometimes it could go a little longer if it's a special project or something like that, or just a seasonal type position.
So this could include labor, those who might work on a truck, or someone who works in repairs of vehicles in the city motor pool. It could be someone's providing administrative assistance.
Yes.
Okay. Well, all right. So now we have a story that is in Chattanooga.com this morning. I don't think the other outlets have it, and maybe that's why John Wilson is here under a byline. What is happening? Is there a kind of a threat from your business perspective to your business with the city? What is the story about, Rusty Hall?
Well, the story is I was awarded a contract, signed a contract with the city to extend my staffing services for the city last week, and yesterday morning an article came out in the Free Press stating that they were revisiting this, and no one contacted me telling me that was the case. I was sent a contract by the city purchasing department last week and signed and sent it back. So as far as I was concerned, I was under contract as a sole contractor for the city for temporary staffing.
Is there a provision in the contract that allows city government to go back and rescind or undo an agreement outside of cause, outside of a legal grievance?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, because you can. Everyone in a contract, Rusty, has the authority to rescind. Rescission is a property right, the right of rescission. You can rescind an agreement, but you have to do that. You have to really allege fraud or constructive fraud or some kind of damage. If
right.
Another party is violating the agreement,
I would think that I would have been made aware of it.
Right. Yeah. If the other party, if you have a contract, just speaking generally here, if you have a contract with someone and that party has a grievance against you, and well, let's say the one party just doesn't meet up to the agreement in a very noticeable way, affecting a rescission, then you, having an agreement with that party, can say, well, clearly you don't want to do business, so I'm rescinding the contract by this action. I'm claiming that you're not abiding by the terms, or you've defrauded me, or you've not done what you said you do, and you've injured me in some way. So I'm giving you a notice of rescission, and that's something that you can do. But I think generally you have to have a reason for it. In other words, a cause for it. And you're suggesting here, Rusty Hall of Outsourced Staffing, that there was no cause stated against you and against your business.
Correct. I've been working with the city since 2006, so 11 years, and with no complaints that I'm aware of.
Well, what about now? You have you deal also with companies and maybe some private parties. You have good dealings with them. Are there things you would want to say about your business that would highlight your favor with those other parties?
Sure. I mean, we've got a great working relationship with all of our clients, and I think you would, if asked, they would all recommend us to anybody who's looking for the service that we provide.
Well, okay. Now, what do you know about the competitor on the field? It's a new business run by a couple. I remember. I think I last year, maybe in the past year or two, I had attempted to have an interview with Donna, who is the wife of the husband and wife team of the other company, and I couldn't get her on the program, but she was involved in I think the effort that she was involved in was racial reconciliation. So, and it was connected with City Hall. So she apparently has she's well regarded in a high way by the mayor, perhaps, or others, or people on his staff.
So what's the question again?
Well, I just wanted you to respond to that. I'm just asking you, what can you tell me, or what can you tell my listener about the competitor that seems to be gaining sudden favor from the mayor's office and even among city council members?
I really don't have anything derogatory to say about anybody because I do not know them. Other than I've never run into them. Other than what I found out over the last 3 or 4 months here about their business. So I can't say, I can't really answer that other than just to say, I know they're a fairly new company and this is a fairly large contract that would require some experience.
And how much is the contract worth?
As the paper stated yesterday, the contract was estimated at $1.8 million.
$1.8 million. And that up till now, that has been a business that you have had at Outsourced Staffing.
Right, and that's not a fixed number. That fluctuates mainly down from that number. Basically, that is a number that's like a high mark number usually.
Right. Yes, sir. Well, listen, Rusty Hall, thanks very much for chatting with my listener and me here on Nooga Radio. Appreciate it.
Okay.
We've been talking with Rusty Hall, and the story is in Chattanooga.com this morning. And John Wilson goes into detail about Marty Lowe and his wife Donna looking at their financial troubles in the past. A first bankruptcy confirmed in 2013, he reports, and the debts are listed, including Erlanger, City of Chattanooga, and Marshall Mize. And a second bankruptcy, the Lowes owed $111,000 to Aquin Loan Services of Iowa as part of $139,000 in debts. TVA, Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union, and the city government and Erlanger, which filed suit, was owed $920. So there's an interesting background of people who have been in business and have had some distress, and now they're being presented by some as the party to with whom Rusty Hall at Outsourced Staffing will have to share some of the proceeds, some of the business that the city gives to middlemen who are in the labor sector. Those are staffing agencies which make the service they provide is they have a ready list of employees that they hire, and then these employees are put to the service of the clients, including city government, whether it be manual labor or office help or computer specialists and what have you. They're given over to the city. They're about, he says, between 75 and 100 at any one time. And that company, Outsourced Staffing, has about 200 workers on retainer. So about half of his business is through his contract with city government. This is David Tulis. We do thank you for tuning in today. There's a story I wanted just to make mention of, and it is by the health ranger Mike Adams. That's naturalnews.com. Mike Adams is a remarkable man. He's a scientist, and runs a laboratory, and he's also a marksman, as he explains it. He's a long distance shooter as a sportsman, and he has published at naturalnews.com the first of two videos that explains the placement of the firing of bullets at Mandalay Bay and places nearby against those attending the concert who perished, and more than 500 of whom were injured by high-powered bullets. He says it's worth looking at, but he says that the measuring of sounds, given the velocity of bullets and the effect of bullets hitting things versus the report of the shot, he said he proposes that there are three likely locations where a second shooter may have been perched the rooftop of the AM/PM convenience store north of the concert venue, he says. And number two, the Oasis Apartments rooftops to the southeast of the concert venue, and a dirt mound construction site due south of the concert venue. And there'll be another posting of that today. I think it's worth looking at. He's a very serious writer, and has a great interest in health. Not in favor of establishment media platforms such as Facebook and Google, but I have seen his references to his work there on my newsfeed. So that's the headline is Bombshell Health Ranger identifies distance of second shooter at Las Vegas massacre, and it's not the Mandalay Bay hotel. And there's going to be a second posting today, and I do want to recommend that you take a look at that. Now, we want to mention something here about the new fire chief, Philip Hyman. There's a story in the Time Free Press describing him. He's a man of great honor. He's been fighting fires for 22 years, according to the Time Free Press account of his elevation. The mayor says Chief Hyman has spent the last few years training each and every member of our department. He's been on the trucks. He's been in every different part of this department. He knows it incredibly well. There were 62 candidates that the mayor's staff and he reviewed from across the U.S., and there were 4 finalists considered last week, and he was selected. Of course, if you're the local man, you have an advantage over an outsiders, but certainly when the position came open, people applied from around the country to live in Chattanooga. Who wouldn't want to live in Chattanooga, right? I mean, it's understandable that there is demand for this place. People hear about it from a distance. They may only have heard about the environmental city or the gig city, and seen photographs of our lovely river bend and our lovely geography, right? The geography which binds us all together is the formation of hills and rivers and lakes caused by meteors, some say. And what I want to highlight here is my continuing story about policing. I've been thinking about my things are getting piled up on my desk. I just want you to know, one is I've got some stories that I'm trying to get out about your rights and city government. And one story that I have worked on, and I just can't, I know when I write something, I need to get it done. I need to finish it, because if I don't, I'll lag in getting back to it. And I know you have the same problem I do. And so sometimes I think it's better just to finish something that's imperfect and be done with it, and not try to perfect it, and not try to get everything in, and dot every last, cover every last point, answer every last question, because Nooganomics.com is, after all, make the platform that makes me the blogger with the biggest pen, right? David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen, and Dave Crockett and I debate who is the leading Nooga centrist, and I say it's me, and he says it's him. But we are kind of arguing over free markets and local economy, and being the biggest Nooga centrist. And so I want to get things out on Nooganomics, and which is it's a nonprofit platform. Okay, there's no profit motive there at all. It's purely an exercise of mind and reading, the fruit of my reading, and in many ways my life. Now, the story about the chief is this: you have two departments in Chattanooga. One serving the executive branch, right? These are service the executive branch. They're funded by the legislative branch, which has the purse in control. And when there are wrongs or issues or debates or disputes, there is the city court, which is the judicial branch of the corporation, the corporation called Chattanooga, the city of Chattanooga, Hamilton County. Now, the Department of Fire, the fire department, the department that saves people from fire, is a charitable work. It is a work that seeks to preserve life and property. There are in Chattanooga, there are 400 staff people at 20 stations. The website for the city government says that it gets 16,000 calls a year. Here in the number 4 city, we have 176,000 people in the city, and I couldn't nail down. There were a couple of figures that came at me, and I didn't distinguish between them. But I think we're about 144 square miles, or maybe 155, one or the other. You get an idea how big we are. And the work here is not enforcing anything, right? It is a work of saving. It is a salvific work, saving property, saving lives. It is about salvation. It is about saving people and extending hand, extending a mercy to people. And it's paid for by taxes, right? It's paid for by the compulsion of taxation. But the end is salvific. It is in French, you'd call it salut, which is of course a greeting. Salut is like hello. It actually, even though the French are an atheistic people, I think still under God's wrath from the time of the Reformation, they still say salut is a casual greeting, and that means salvation. So it is a greeting of salvation when the fire department is there to help you, and no threats are involved in that work. And yet we have in the same branch of the city, we have a department that's all about enforcement. It's all about compulsion. And one of the things that I'm trying to get off my desk is a review of a 2-page filing by former Chief Fred Fletcher. It's called the Admin 15 Ethics. It's an ethics rules, 2 pages, and it's very fine. I want you to know it is a very fine document. It says the lead paragraph kind of encapsulates the whole. It says, as a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve mankind, to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all men to liberty, equality, and justice. Now that is very fine. And when we consider the Hanson Melvin case and other cases that we haven't reported on, but which we can be confident are there, touching on the use of force, right? The continuum of force that is part of the policy, right? It is policy of the police department in every municipality to have that continuum. In fact, it runs to 11 pages. The Admin 5, the use of force. As I'm showing you, my listener here, you, my viewer here on Facebook at Nooga Radio, and also you, the viewer on YouTube. We are live on YouTube, and you can hear us. Just by the way, you can hear us on your computer if you're on a desktop or on your phone. Just go to noogaradio.com, noogaradio.com. And what I want to bring up is a startling thing in the use of force document. There is it starts off with definitions, right? Definitions are crucial in law. And there is a reference to oleoresin capsicum, OC spray, pepper-based spray, authorized by use for the department. Now, maybe it's authorized, but I'm just wondering about that. Well, how is it authorized when in the Terrorism Prevention and Response Act of 2002, the Tennessee terrorism statute, there is a reference to this material as a thing prohibited under the terrorism law, right? It's mentioned specifically under biological warfare agents. So we have officers who, as part of their continuum of force, use a gas, use a poison that makes you very, very sick for at least a short time as part of their work of ministry, their work of protection. Now, I'm wondering about this, and I haven't thought through all the implications of it, but it is given, and this biological warfare agents cause disease or death in humans, animals, or plants, and depend for their effect on multiplication within the target organism, and is included and includes, but is not limited to, the following agents or any analog of them. And it's a long list. It goes on for pages. Another one is CS gas, which is used in policing as well. CS is chlorobenzyl malonitrile, CS for short. It's 2-chloro. And both of these are part of the definition of terrorist acts and terrorist equipment, right? Terrorism, just so we know, is something that is very, very, very interesting. Found by the General Assembly. Our state General Assembly is concerned about terrorism, and it finds it necessary to sanction, meaning prohibit and ban, the possession, manufacture, use, or threatened use of chemical, biological, nuclear, or radiological weapons. CS gas is a weapon, and so is the other one that I mentioned. OC gas is what. Now, OC is the one that mentioned in the use of force policy of the department. So we have a Department of Safety and Security here in Chattanooga, which has in the definitions this spray that is an incapacitating spray. And I'm looking at this because I think there's a problem, right? I think there's a problem with the whole idea of law enforcement. If we're a free people, why do we need law enforcement? Law enforcement exists when you have a positive law, and then you have a group of people who are going to go about enforcing that law against the people. In Tennessee, the statute has absorbed all common law offenses. So murder is not a crime against an individual and that person's family. It's a crime against the state. That's what happens when there's a murder. It's state of Tennessee versus John Doe. The state is the offended party, right? And it claims to be the victim. It acts as if it were the victim, and its recourse for judgment is to have the person put in jail, right? That there's not ever the slightest thought given to the victim. There's no victims' rights in Tennessee. There are no victims' rights, though we have a few parts in the statute which seem to give some concession to the victims, where they can shed some tears in a courtroom. But that's about it. There's no care for victims. We have law enforcement that upholds the system, this absorption of common law rights and common law protection by the state. And then we have this body that has not 400 as the fire department, but 500 sworn officers going about enforcing statutes. And this concerns me because the people are in fear. The people of Chattanooga, the people in the other corporations in the area, I think, are in fear also, though they would tell you that they are getting some benefit from policing. This is David Tulis.
Valley's News Talk leader, Nooga Radio, Digital FM 90.